Snow crunched under Ellie's boots, each step a rebellion against the silence of the sprawling estate. She was 24, broke, and carrying her mother's cleaning supplies into the Whitmore mansion, a place that screamed wealth she'd never touch. By midnight, she'd meet someone who'd unravel her world. The New England winter bit at her fingertips as she hauled the vacuum through the grand foyer. Crystal chandeliers glittered above, mocking her faded jacket in calloused hands. Her mother, Maria, had been the Whitmores' housekeeper for years, but tonight, Christmas Eve, Maria was sick and Ellie had to cover. "Careful with that," a voice called, sharp but warm like a fire barely contained. Ellie turned to see Cassandra Whitmore descending the staircase. At 32, Cassandra was everything Ellie wasn't. Polished, powerful, the sole heir to the Whitmore fortune. Her black hair fell in perfect waves, and her emerald eyes held a storm Ellie couldn't name. "I'm just filling in for Mom," Ellie muttered, avoiding those eyes. She focused on the marble floor, scrubbing harder than needed. Cassandra tilted her head, her silk blouse catching the light. "You're Maria's daughter? You don't look like a housekeeper." Ellie's cheeks burned. "And you don't look like you clean your own floors." A laugh escaped Cassandra, surprising them both. It was low, unguarded, and it made Ellie's pulse skip. "Fair point," Cassandra said, stepping closer. "What's your name?" "Ellie." She kept her voice steady, though her heart wasn't. "Ellie," Cassandra repeated, like she was tasting the word. "Stay after your shift. Have a drink with me." Ellie froze. Was this a test? A rich woman's whim? "I've got work to do," she said, but her voice wavered. Cassandra's smile was a dare. "Work can wait." "I can't." The mansion was a maze of opulence. Gold-trimmed mirrors, velvet drapes. A grand piano that probably cost more than Ellie's life. She worked fast, vacuuming, dusting, trying to ignore the weight of Cassandra's invitation. Her mother had warned her about the Whitmores. They're kind until they're not. But Cassandra's gaze lingered in her mind, a spark in the cold. By 10 p.m., the house was spotless, and Ellie found herself in the library, where Cassandra waited with 2 glasses of red wine. The fire crackled, casting shadows on shelves of leather-bound books. "You're not like your mother," Cassandra said, handing her a glass. "She's all duty. You've got fire." Ellie took the glass, her fingers brushing Cassandra's. The touch was electric and she pulled back, heart racing. "You don't know me." "Then let me," Cassandra said, her voice soft but insistent. She sat on a plush sofa, patting the space beside her. Ellie hesitated, then sat, the distance between them shrinking with every breath. They talked about nothing, then everything. Ellie spoke of her art degree, useless in this economy, and her dreams of painting murals that told stories. Cassandra shared fragments of her life. The pressure of running a family empire. The loneliness of a house too big for one. Their words wove a fragile thread, pulling them closer. "You're not what I expected," Cassandra admitted, her eyes searching Ellie's. "Most people here are predictable." Ellie smirked. Disappointed? Intrigued? Cassandra's hand grazed Ellie's knee, a fleeting touch that set her skin ablaze. The clock struck 11, and the air thickened with unspoken questions. Ellie wanted to ask why a woman like Cassandra cared about someone like her. Cassandra seemed to wrestle with her own secrets, her gaze flickering to a locked drawer in the desk. "I should go," Ellie said, standing, her mind screaming to stay. Cassandra caught her wrist, gentle but firm. "Stay. Please." Ellie's breath hitched. This was dangerous. Cassandra was her mother's boss, a world apart. But the warmth in Cassandra's touch, the raw need in her eyes, made Ellie's resolve crumble. They sat again, closer now, the firelight dancing on their faces. Cassandra's fingers traced Ellie's jaw, slow, deliberate. "I've never met anyone like you," she whispered. Ellie leaned in, her lips inches from Cassandra's. The world narrowed to this moment, this woman, this impossible pull. Then the library door creaked open. "Cassandra!" A man's voice, cold and commanding, cut through the haze. Ellie pulled back, heart pounding. Cassandra's face hardened. "Father," she said, standing. Ellie's stomach dropped. Edward Whitmore, the patriarch, stood in the doorway, his eyes narrowing at her. "Who's this?" he demanded. "The housekeeper's daughter," Cassandra said, her voice steady but laced with defiance. Edward's gaze was ice. "Get back to work, girl." Ellie grabbed her things, her face burning with shame and anger. As she fled the library, Cassandra's voice followed, soft but fierce. "This isn't over." Outside, the snow fell harder, blanketing the world in silence. Ellie's heart raced with fear, hope, and something she couldn't name. She didn't know what Cassandra hid in that locked drawer, or why Edward's presence felt like a warning. But one thing was clear. Tonight had changed everything. Ellie's boots left uneven tracks in the snow as she stumbled from the mansion, her breath clouding in the freezing air. The weight of Edward Whitmore's glare clung to her, but Cassandra's whispered promise, "This isn't over," burned brighter. She clutched her mother's cleaning bag, torn between running and turning back to face whatever this was. Back at her family's cramped apartment, Ellie dropped onto the couch, the faint glow of Christmas lights doing little to warm the room. Her mother, Maria, coughed from the bedroom, her illness a quiet shadow over their lives. Ellie's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Meet me tomorrow. Coffee shop on Main, 10 a.m. Her heart skipped. Cassandra. Morning came too fast. The coffee shop was a cozy contrast to the Whitmore estate, with worn wooden tables and the scent of roasted beans. Ellie arrived early, her paint-splattered jeans a stark contrast to the polished patrons. When Cassandra walked in, heads turned. She wore a tailored coat, her confidence unshaken, but her eyes softened when they found Ellie. "You came," Cassandra said, sliding into the seat across from her. "You didn't give me much choice," Ellie replied, trying to sound casual despite the flutter in her chest. Cassandra's smile was small, almost shy. "I don't usually chase people. But you're different." Ellie wanted to laugh it off, to call it a rich woman's game, but the sincerity in Cassandra's voice stopped her. They ordered coffee and the conversation flowed. Art, dreams, the weight of expectations. Cassandra spoke of her father's iron grip on the family business, her mother's death years ago, and the isolation of her gilded life. Ellie shared stories of painting in secret, her mother's sacrifices, and the ache of wanting more. Their hands brushed over the table, a spark igniting. "Why me?" Ellie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You could have anyone." Cassandra's gaze held hers. "Because you see me, not the Whitmore name." The words hit hard and Ellie felt the pull again, stronger now. But doubt crept in. "Your father didn't seem thrilled last night." Cassandra's jaw tightened. "He doesn't control me." Ellie wasn't so sure. The memory of Edward's cold eyes lingered, a warning she couldn't shake. Still, when Cassandra suggested a walk through the snowy park, Ellie didn't hesitate. The park was a winter painting. Bare trees dusted with snow, children laughing as they built snowmen. Cassandra and Ellie walked side by side, their shoulders brushing. When Cassandra slipped her hand into Ellie's, it felt like the world paused. "I've never done this," Cassandra admitted, her voice low. "Felt this free." Ellie's heart ached with hope and fear. "This could get messy," she said. "My mom works for you. If your father finds out." "Let me handle him," Cassandra interrupted, her tone fierce. She stopped walking, turning to face Ellie. "I want this. I want you." The words stole Ellie's breath. She leaned in and their lips met, soft at first, then urgent, the cold air forgotten. The kiss was a promise, a risk, a fire neither could extinguish. But the moment shattered when a car horn blared nearby. Ellie pulled back, spotting a black SUV idling across the street. The driver's face was obscured, but the Whitmore crest on the door was unmistakable. "They're watching you," Ellie said, her voice tight. Cassandra's face darkened. "My father's security. He's protective." "Protective or controlling?" Ellie asked, stepping back. Cassandra didn't answer, her eyes flickering with something like guilt. "I'll deal with it," she said finally. "Meet me tomorrow night. My place. No interruptions." Ellie nodded, but unease settled in her gut. As Cassandra walked away, Ellie noticed a folded piece of paper slip from her coat pocket. She picked it up. A handwritten note partially torn with the words, "You can't hide her forever," scrawled in sharp ink. Back home, Ellie couldn't shake the note's weight. She hid it in her sketchbook, her fingers trembling as she sketched Cassandra's face from memory. The lines came alive, her sharp jaw, her haunted eyes, but the note's words echoed. What was Cassandra hiding? And why did Edward Whitmore feel like a storm waiting to break? Ellie's mother called from the bedroom, her voice weak. "You okay, Mija?" "Yeah, Ma," Ellie lied, her mind racing. She didn't tell her about Cassandra or the note. Maria had enough to worry about. But as Ellie lay awake that night, the memory of Cassandra's kiss battled with the growing sense that something was terribly wrong. Ellie's sketchbook lay open, Cassandra's face staring back in charcoal lines, but the note, "You can't hide her forever," burned in her mind. She shoved it deeper into the pages, as if hiding it could erase the questions it raised. Tonight she'd see Cassandra again, and she'd get answers. The Whitmore mansion glowed against the night sky, its windows like eyes watching her approach. Ellie's heart pounded as she slipped through the side entrance, her mother's key heavy in her pocket. Cassandra had texted, "Library 8 p.m. No one's home." The library was warm, the fire already lit. Cassandra stood by the window, her silhouette framed by falling snow. She turned, and her smile was a lifeline. "You came," she said, crossing the room to pull Ellie into a hug. The embrace was fierce, desperate, and Ellie melted into it despite her doubts. "What's going on, Cassandra?" she asked, pulling back. "The note. Your father. The SUV." Cassandra's face tightened, but she didn't look away. "It's complicated. My family, they have expectations." "Expectations?" Ellie's voice rose. "Your father looked at me like I was trash. And that note, what does it mean?" Cassandra hesitated, then took Ellie's hand, leading her to the sofa. "There's someone I need to tell you about," she said, her voice low. "My sister, Lila." Ellie frowned. "I thought you were an only child." "Everyone does." Cassandra's eyes were distant, pained. "Lila's different. She was born with a condition, severe developmental delays. My parents hid her away, ashamed. She lives in a private facility, but I visit her. Always have." Ellie's chest tightened. "The note was about her?" Cassandra nodded. "My father's advisor wrote it. He thinks Lila's a liability, a secret that could ruin the Whitmore image. He's been pressuring me to cut ties with her." "That's cruel," Ellie said, anger flaring. "She's your sister." "I know." Cassandra's voice broke. "I've fought him for years, but he's relentless. And now with you," she trailed off, her hand tightening around Ellie's. "Now what?" Ellie pressed, her heart racing. "You're a complication," Cassandra said, but her smile was soft. "A beautiful one. My father would lose it if he knew about us." Ellie's stomach twisted. "So I'm a secret too?" "No," Cassandra said fiercely. "Your choice. One I'm making, no matter what he thinks." The words hit like a wave, and Ellie kissed her, hard and sure, pouring every fear and hope into it. Cassandra kissed back, her hands tangling in Ellie's hair, the world falling away. But the moment broke when a floorboard creaked outside the door. They froze, Cassandra's eyes wide with fear. "Hide," she whispered, pushing Ellie toward a closet. Ellie slipped inside, heart pounding as the door opened. Edward Whitmore's voice filled the room, low and menacing. "Cassandra, we need to talk about your distractions." "I'm working," Cassandra lied, her voice steady. "Don't play games," Edward snapped. "I know about the girl. Maria's daughter. You think you can slum it with the help?" Ellie's blood boiled, but she stayed silent, pressed against the closet wall. "She's not the help," Cassandra said, her tone ice-cold. "And I'm not a child you can control." Edward laughed, a sound that chilled Ellie's bones. "You'll learn, Cassandra. Everyone has a price." His footsteps faded, and Cassandra opened the closet, her face pale. "I'm sorry," she whispered. He's not who he seems." "What does that mean?" Ellie demanded, stepping out. Cassandra hesitated. then pulled a key from her pocket. She crossed to the locked drawer Ellie had noticed on Christmas Eve, opening it to reveal a stack of letters. "These are from my mother," she said. "Before she died, she wrote to Lila and me, warning us about my father. He's dangerous." Ellie's pulse raced. Dangerous how? Cassandra's eyes were haunted. He's built the Whitmore empire on secrets, bribes, blackmail, worse. My mother wanted out, but she didn't make it. Ellie's mind reeled. You think he hurt her? I don't know, Cassandra admitted. But I'm going to find out. And I need you to trust me. Ellie wanted to trust her, wanted to believe in the fire between them. But the weight of Edward's words, the note, the letters, it was all too much. I need time, she said, her voice shaking. Cassandra nodded, her eyes wet. Take it. But don't walk away. Ellie left the mansion, the snow swallowing her footsteps. She didn't know if she was running toward Cassandra or away from the truth. But one thing was certain. She was in too deep to turn back now. Ellie's apartment felt smaller than ever, the walls closing in as she clutched the sketchbook where the mysterious note still hid. Cassandra's words, "He's dangerous," echoed, twisting with the memory of her kiss. She wanted to believe in Cassandra, but the shadow of Edward Whitmore loomed larger than ever. Her mother's cough broke the silence. Ellie hurried to the bedroom, bringing water and medicine. You're up late, Maria said, her voice weak but sharp. What's wrong, Mija? Nothing, Ellie lied, but Maria's eyes narrowed. You've been different since Christmas Eve. The Whitmores, their trouble. Ellie's heart sank. She couldn't tell her mother about Cassandra. Not yet. I'm fine, Ma. Rest. But rest didn't come for Ellie. She spent the night sketching, her pencil carving Cassandra's face with desperate precision. By dawn, she'd made a decision. She'd confront Cassandra about the letters and Edward's threat. The Whitmore estate was quiet when Ellie arrived, the snow fresh and untouched. Cassandra met her at the side door, her face pale but determined. I was hoping you'd come, she said, pulling Ellie inside. They retreated to the library, the only place that felt like theirs. Cassandra locked the door, her hands trembling. I've been reading my mother's letters, she said, spreading them across the desk. They're coded, but I'm starting to understand. She was planning to expose my father. His deals, his crimes. Ellie's throat tightened. Crimes. Cassandra nodded, her voice low. Embezzlement, fraud, maybe worse. She wrote about a ledger, hidden somewhere in this house. If I can find it, I can stop him. Ellie's mind raced. And what happens to you if you do? He's your father. He stopped being my father a long time ago, Cassandra said, her eyes blazing. He controls everything, my life, Lila's, even you. Me. Ellie's voice rose. He doesn't even know me. He knows enough, Cassandra said. He's had you followed since Christmas Eve. He thinks you're a threat. Ellie's blood ran cold. The SUV, the note, it all clicked. Why didn't you tell me? I was protecting you, Cassandra said, stepping closer. I didn't want you caught in his crosshairs. Ellie wanted to be angry, but Cassandra's touch, soft, pleading, melted her resolve. They kissed slower this time, the weight of their secrets pressing against them. I'm in this with you, Ellie whispered. But no more lies. Cassandra nodded, tears in her eyes. No more lies. They spent the day searching the mansion, combing through dusty cabinets and hidden panels. Ellie's hand shook as she pried open a loose floorboard in the study, but it was empty. Cassandra's frustration grew, her movements frantic. It has to be here, she muttered. As night fell, they found a locked safe behind a painting in Edward's office. Cassandra's hands froze on the dial. This is it, she whispered. But I don't know the combination. Ellie noticed a photo on the desk, Cassandra, Lila, and their mother, smiling in a rare moment of joy. Try Lila's birthday, she suggested. Cassandra's eyes widened. She spun the dial, entering the date. The safe clicked open, revealing a leather-bound ledger. Inside were pages of numbers, names, and transactions, proof of Edward's crimes. We did it, Cassandra breathed, but her triumph was short-lived. Footsteps echoed in the hall, heavy and deliberate. Hide it, Ellie hissed, shoving the ledger into Cassandra's bag. They slipped out the office window, landing in the snow just as Edward's voice boomed through the house. They ran, hearts pounding, until they reached the edge of the estate. Cassandra clutched the ledger, her face a mix of fear and resolve. "He'll come for this," she said. "And for us." Ellie took her hand, their fingers interlocking. "Then we fight." They hid in a nearby diner, the ledger tucked under Cassandra's coat. Over coffee they pored over the pages, deciphering coded entries. Names of politicians, business tycoons, and even law enforcement leapt out. Edward's web of corruption was vast. "We need to get this to someone who can help," Ellie said. "A journalist, maybe." Cassandra nodded, but her eyes were distant. "There's something else," she said, pulling a letter from the ledger. "It's from my mother. She wrote it the day she died." Ellie's heart sank as Cassandra read aloud, her voice trembling. The letter spoke of love, regret, and a warning. Edward had discovered her plan to expose him. "If anything happens to me," it ended, "protect Lila. And yourself." Ellie reached for Cassandra's hand, her own shaking. "We'll protect each other," she said. But as they left the diner, a black SUV pulled up, its headlights cutting through the night. Ellie's stomach dropped. They weren't safe, not yet. The SUV's headlights pinned Ellie and Cassandra to the diner's parking lot. The engine's low growl a threat in the quiet night. Ellie's grip tightened on Cassandra's hand, the ledger heavy in her bag. "Run," Ellie whispered, and they bolted down an alley, snow crunching underfoot. They ducked behind a dumpster, hearts pounding as the SUV idled nearby. Cassandra's breath was ragged, her eyes wide with fear. "They won't stop," she said. "Not until they have the ledger." Ellie's mind raced. "We need to get it to someone safe. Now." Cassandra nodded, pulling out her phone. "I know a journalist, Rachel Kane. She's been digging into my father's dealings for years." They slipped through backstreets, the cold biting at their skin, until they reached a small motel on the edge of town. Cassandra called Rachel, her voice low and urgent. "Meet us at the Starlight Motel, room 12. Bring protection." While they waited, Ellie studied the ledger's pages, her artist's eye catching patterns in the chaos. "These dates," she said, pointing. "They match the timeline of your mother's death." Cassandra's face paled. "You think it's connected?" "I think your father's been hiding more than you know," Ellie said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her. Rachel arrived an hour later, a wiry woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She took one look at the ledger and whistled. "This is dynamite," she said. "Edward Whitmore's been untouchable for years. This could bring him down." But as Rachel photographed the pages, a loud knock shook the door. Ellie's heart leapt to her throat. Cassandra motioned for silence, but the knock came again, harder. "Open the door, Cassandra," a voice called. Edward's advisor, Victor, his tone cold and controlled. Ellie grabbed a lamp, ready to fight, but Cassandra shook her head. "We can't win like this," she whispered. She turned to Rachel. "Take the ledger. Go out the back." Rachel hesitated, then nodded, slipping the ledger into her bag. She disappeared through the bathroom window as Victor's men broke down the door. Two men in suits stormed in, Victor behind them, his eyes glinting with malice. "You've been busy," he said, his gaze locking on Cassandra. "Hand it over." "There's nothing to hand over," Cassandra said, her voice defiant. Victor's smile was cruel. "We'll see." The men grabbed Ellie, pinning her arms. She struggled, kicking, but they were too strong. Cassandra lunged forward, but Victor caught her, his grip bruising. "Don't make this harder," he said. Ellie's mind flashed to her mother, to the sketches she'd never finish, to the love she'd just found. "Let her go," she shouted, her voice raw. Victor ignored her, his attention on Cassandra. "Your father's disappointed, Cassandra. You were supposed to be smarter than this." Cassandra's eyes blazed. "Tell him I'm done being his pawn." Victor's laugh was cold. "You're not done until he says so." Before Ellie could react, Cassandra twisted free, grabbing a chair and swinging it at Victor. He stumbled and Ellie broke loose, tackling one of the men. The room erupted in chaos. Fists flying, furniture crashing. Ellie's knuckles bled, but she fought with everything she had, driven by fear and love. They managed to slip out the door, running into the night. The snow had stopped, leaving the world stark and silent. They hid in a nearby park, catching their breath behind a cluster of pines. "Are you okay?" Ellie asked, touching Cassandra's cheek where a bruise was forming. Cassandra nodded, her eyes fierce. "We need to find Rachel. She's our only chance." They tracked Rachel to a safe house downtown, a cramped apartment filled with files and laptops. Rachel was shaken but unharmed, the ledger safe. "I've sent copies to my editor," she said. "This goes public tomorrow." Ellie felt a surge of hope, but Cassandra's face was grim. "He'll come for us before then," she said. "We need to get to Lila." "Lila?" Ellie asked, confused. "My sister," Cassandra said. "If my father knows we're exposing him, he'll use her to control me." They drove to the private facility where Lila lived, a sterile building hidden in the countryside. Lila, a fragile 28-year-old with wide, trusting eyes, lit up when she saw Cassandra. "Cassie!" she cried, hugging her. Ellie's heart ached at the sight. She saw the love in Cassandra's eyes, the weight of her protectiveness. But as they prepared to leave with Lila, headlights flashed outside. Another SUV. "They found us," Cassandra whispered, her voice breaking. Ellie took her hand, her resolve hardening. "We're not losing this." The facility's fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as Ellie, Cassandra, and Lila crouched behind a nurse's station. The SUV's headlights cut through the windows, casting sharp shadows. Ellie's heart pounded, but she squeezed Cassandra's hand, anchoring them both. "We need to get Lila out," Cassandra whispered, her eyes on her sister, who clung to her with quiet trust. Ellie nodded, scanning the room. A fire exit glowed red at the end of the hall. "There," she said, pointing. "We move fast." They crept forward, Lila's soft whimpers the only sound. Ellie's mind raced. Every second felt like a trap closing. As they reached the exit, a door slammed open behind them. Victor's voice echoed. "Cassandra, don't make this worse." "Go," Ellie hissed, pushing Cassandra and Lila through the door. They spilled into the snowy night, the cold biting their skin. The facility's back lot was a maze of parked cars and dumpsters, offering cover. They ducked behind a van, Lila trembling between them. Cassandra's face was pale but fierce. "I won't let him take her," she said, her voice low. "Or you." Ellie's chest tightened. She wanted to promise they'd all be safe, but the truth was heavier. "We need a plan," she said. "Rachel's exposing the ledger, but your father's not going down without a fight." Cassandra pulled out her phone, her hands shaking as she texted Rachel. "Safe house compromised. Need backup. Lila's with us." Minutes later, Rachel replied, "Police on the way. Stay hidden." But staying hidden wasn't easy. Victor's men fanned out, their flashlight beams slicing through the dark. Ellie's breath hitched as one swept close, illuminating Lila's terrified face. Cassandra pulled her sister closer, whispering, "It's okay, Lila. I've got you." Ellie's mind flashed to her own mother, alone and sick. She couldn't fail, not now. "We need to move," she said, spotting a gap in the search pattern. They darted to another car, then a shed, each step a gamble. Lila's breathing was uneven, her condition making the cold dangerous. Cassandra's eyes were desperate. "She needs her meds," she said. "They're inside." Ellie's stomach dropped. Going back was suicide, but Lila's pale face left no choice. "I'll go," she said, her voice steady despite the fear. "No," Cassandra said, grabbing her arm. "I can't lose you." "You won't," Ellie said, kissing her fiercely. "Keep Lila safe." She slipped back toward the facility, her heart hammering. The halls were quiet, but Victor's men were close. She could hear their radios crackling. She found Lila's room. Grabbing the medication from a locked cabinet, she pried open with a paperclip. As she turned to leave, a hand clamped over her mouth. "Victor, you're persistent," he said, his voice cold. But foolish. Ellie struggled, kicking his shin. He grunted but didn't let go, dragging her toward the exit. Her mind screamed. She'd promised Cassandra. With a surge of adrenaline, she elbowed his ribs, breaking free. She ran, clutching the meds, and burst into the night. Cassandra and Lila were where she'd left them, hidden by the shed. Ellie handed over the medication, her hands shaking. "We need to go now," she said. But before they could move, sirens wailed in the distance. Relief flooded Ellie, but it was short-lived. Victor emerged from the shadows, a gun glinting in his hand. "End of the line," he said. Cassandra stepped in front of Lila, her voice steady. "You won't touch them." Victor's smile was cruel. "Your father's orders, Cassandra. You've crossed too many lines." Ellie's blood ran cold, but she stepped forward, shielding Cassandra and Lila. "You'll have to go through me," she said, her voice raw with defiance. The sirens grew louder, and Victor hesitated, his eyes flickering. Headlights flooded the lot as police cars screeched in, officers shouting for him to drop the weapon. He cursed, lowering the gun, and was swarmed by cops. Cassandra pulled Ellie and Lila into a tight embrace, tears streaming down her face. "You came back," she whispered to Ellie. "Always," Ellie said, her voice breaking. The police took Victor into custody, and Rachel arrived, her face grim but triumphant. "The ledger's out," she said. "It's on every major news outlet. Edward's finished." But Cassandra's eyes were on Lila, who clung to her, safe but fragile. "We're not done yet," she said. "I need to make sure Lila's okay." Ellie nodded, her hand finding Cassandra's. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time they felt like they could win together. The police station was a blur of fluorescent lights and clipped voices as Ellie, Cassandra, and Lila sat in a small room, wrapped in blankets. The ledger's exposure had unleashed chaos. News vans crowded the streets, reporters shouting questions about Edward Whitmore's empire. Ellie's hand stayed in Cassandra's, their fingers laced tightly, grounding each other. Lila, medicated and calmer now, leaned against Cassandra, her eyes bright with trust. "Home?" she asked softly. Cassandra kissed her forehead. "Soon, Lila. I promise." Rachel burst in, her laptop open. "Edward's been arrested," she said. "The ledger tied him to fraud, money laundering, even your mother's death. They're investigating it as a homicide." Cassandra's face crumpled, grief and relief colliding. Ellie squeezed her hand, her own heart aching. "You did it," she whispered. "You stopped him." "We did it," Cassandra corrected, her voice thick. The next days were a storm. Edward's arrest shattered the Whitmore legacy, and Cassandra stepped into the chaos, determined to rebuild. She moved Lila to a better facility, one with open windows and kind staff, funded by her own trust. Ellie was there every step, her sketches piling up, portraits of Cassandra's strength, Lila's smile, their new beginning. But the truth of Cassandra's mother lingered. The police found evidence in the ledger, a payment to a hitman dated the day she died. Cassandra read the report in silence, tears falling, and Ellie held her through the night, their love a quiet anchor. One evening, in a small apartment they'd rented to escape the mansion's ghosts, Cassandra pulled Ellie close. "I was lost before you," she said, her voice raw. "You gave me courage." Ellie smiled, brushing a strand of hair from Cassandra's face. "You gave me a reason to fight." They kissed, slow and sure, the world outside fading. The future was uncertain. Cassandra faced legal battles to dismantle her father's empire, and Ellie's mother needed care as her health faltered. But they faced it together, their love a fire that burned through fear. On a quiet morning, Ellie showed Cassandra a mural she'd painted on the apartment wall. A vibrant scene of snow, a mansion, and two women standing hand in hand, with Lila laughing nearby. At the bottom, in small letters, she'd written, "Love blooms where secrets unravel." Cassandra traced the words, her eyes shining. "It's us," she said. "It's home," Ellie replied. They stood together, the mural a testament to their journey. The shocking truth had changed everything. exposed crimes, broken a dynasty, freed a sister. But it had also built something new. A love that defied wealth, secrets, and fear, strong enough to carry them into whatever came next.